So the Bible does give that examples, or that concept of a single entity that might appear to even be one person, yet it's composed of multiple persons. That is the illustration I use. There's more, but for the brevity of time, I'll just move on. That is an illustration to show that concept, that there can be a single entity, or appear to be a single entity, as if one person, yet it's really composed of more than one person. Biblically, to support this, I'm going to again take the Watchtower's New World Translation, turn to Psalm 102. Psalm 102, and I'm going to look at verse 22, then 24 through 27, and I'll read it. It says, "When the peoples are collected all together, and the kingdoms to serve Jehovah." So contextually, this is speaking about Jehovah. Verse 24, "And I proceeded to say, O my God, do not take me off at the half of my days. Your years are throughout all generations. Long ago you laid the foundations of the earth itself, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They themselves will perish, but you yourself will keep standing. And just like a garment, they will all of them wear out. Just like clothing, you will replace them, and they will finish their turn. But you are the same, and your years will not be completed." What is my point? My point is that this is speaking about Jehovah. Verse 25, that he is the creator. He laid the foundations of the earth and the heavens. They are the work of his hands. Who is that? That's Jehovah. Yet, if you turn to Hebrews chapter 1, also in the New World Translation, and verses 10 and 11 through 12, it says, And you at the beginning, O Lord, laid the foundations. See, this is a quoting from Psalm 102. But if you read the context of Hebrews chapter 1, this is referring to Jesus, the Son of God. Again, verse 10 says, And you at the beginning, O Lord, laid the foundations of the earth itself, and the heavens are the works of your hands. They themselves will perish, but you yourself are to remain continually, and just like an outer garment, they will all grow old. And you will wrap them up just as a cloak, as an outer garment, and they will be changed, but you are the same, and your years will never run out. This is a quote from Psalm 102, which initially applied to Jehovah. The same exact quote is quoted here in Hebrews chapter 1, applied to Jesus, the Son of God. He too created the universe, or made the universe. Jehovah's Witnesses typically don't use the word create, they use made when it applies to Jesus, that he made it. But his role in making the universe is the same as Jehovah's, because Jehovah's role is described in Psalm 102, and that exact same description is applied to Jesus at Hebrews 1:10. Well, how many makers of the universe are there? Well, the Bible answers that. If you go to Isaiah chapter 44, first verses 6 through 8, and then verse 24. Isaiah 44, verse 6 through 8 says, This is what Jehovah said, the King of Israel, and the repurchaser of him, Jehovah of armies, I am the first, and I am the last, and besides me there is no God. Now either that's true or that's false. Verse 7, And who is there like me? Let him call out, that he may tell it and present it to me. And you can go on and read 8 and 9. Verse 9 says, Does there exist a God besides me? No, there is no rock. I have recognized none. For the end of that's the end of verse 8. Then flipping over to verse 24, it says this, This is what Jehovah has said, your repurchaser, and the former of you from the belly. I, Jehovah, am doing everything, stretching out the heavens by myself, laying out the earth. Who was with me? So in this chapter, the context is that Jehovah was alone when he made the universe. There was no God with him. Now, did Jehovah get amnesia and forgot, oh yes, there was another God there? Because Jehovah's Witnesses believe there was another God there helping Jehovah make the universe. They quote John 1:1, where Jesus is, in their translation, called a God who made the universe. So, according to the Jehovah's Witnesses, there were two gods who made the universe. And apparently in Isaiah 44:24, either Jehovah forgot that there was another God there, or Jesus' role was very insignificant, or Jesus' role was different. Well, we know that's not true because of comparing Psalm 102 with Hebrews 1. Jesus' role was the same in making the universe. So that there's many more verses that show that Jesus is the maker of the universe, and there was only one maker. There's several verses that show that. But what most Jehovah's Witnesses don't realize is that the Trinitarians, and now, as I said before, the majority of scholars who hold to the complementarian position, believe that Jesus is not only, well, of course he's a distinct person. All Trinitarians believe he is a distinct person from the Father, but that he is also eternally subordinate to the Father, just as a wife would be subordinate to the husband in the marriage, as Jehovah's Witnesses hold. Jesus is subordinate to the Father. Another reference is articles written by Wayne Grudem, Grudem. And I have in my hands a book called Evangelical Feminism and Biblical Truth. And regardless of whether you agree with Wayne Grudem on the subject of women's roles in the church, this is a reference to show that another scholar teaches that Jesus is a distinct person eternally subordinate to the Father. And on the back of the cover it tells who Wayne Grudem is. He's a research professor of Bible and theology at Phoenix Seminary in Scottsdale, Arizona. He received a BA from Harvard University, an Master of Divinity, MDiv from Westminster Seminary, and a PhD from the University of Cambridge, England. He's was president of the Evangelical Theological Society as well, and then has a number of books. So there are a couple references that I've mentioned now of scholars who hold that Jesus is a distinct person eternally subordinate to the Father. And I learned that the Watchtower's definition of the Trinity was not the scholar's definition of the Trinity. And I felt a little bit deceived. And then when I found out what the Trinity is actually that is taught by Trinitarians, complementarian Trinitarians that teach that Jesus is eternally subordinate, I felt that the Watchtower not only deceived me, because this is a widespread belief amongst theologians, but that this was the real truth, that God indeed was a Trinity. So that's the view that I came to, and I'd have to say I'm very happy that I'm outside of the Watchtower Society with its mind control and its nasty habits that they have of disfellowshipping someone for worshiping Jesus. That's not good. The book of John chapter 5, John chapter 5 and verse 23. In the Watchtower's Bible, it reads this way. Interesting, during the years that the Watchtower Society taught that Jesus should be worshipped, this was one of the verses that they used. Besides Hebrews 1:6, they used this verse. John 5:23 says this, "In order that all may honor the Son just as they honor the Father." Just as they honor the Father. So, according to even their own translation, Jesus is to be honored just as they would the Father. But that's not what the Watchtower Society does. Other verses that a person can read in Revelation chapter 5, verse 13 and 14. And by the context, not only is Jehovah God receiving this worship, the word there is worship, but Jesus is as well. The same Greek word is used at Matthew 14, verse 33, and Matthew 28, verses 9 and 17. Same Greek word as used at Revelation 5:14, when the Greek word is proskuneo, is given to Jehovah God. Also, Hebrews 1:6, as I mentioned before, is the same word as it appears in Luke 24:52. Same Greek word. Jesus is worshipped in Scripture. And as a reference in their publications, the Jehovah's Witnesses had a book in 1930 called the Book 2, Light Book 2. And in Light Book 2, pages 161 to 166, they show that worship is not to be given to humans or angels. Yet on page 166, worship is to be given to Jesus. And there they quote Hebrews 1:6. So the point is that the Watchtower Society has contradicted itself, contradicts itself from time to time, contradicts their own current charter in saying that Jesus is not to be worshipped when in fact he should be. And that's a very good reason to get away from that and find a group that does worship Jesus Christ as the maker of the universe.